thank you everyone for coming. Just a quick introduction. This is a WiRED Club. We're trying to do a meeting, I guess, every Wednesday night. This is our first event for the semester. So I really want to thank Noor for coming out and taking time out of her
Nice.
schedule to meet with us, despite her being across the world in Australia. So I really appreciate it. And if you want to give a quick introduction of yourself, and we go straight from there.
Yeah, first of all, I'm very glad to be here. It was good to talk to you, and thanks, Brian, for arranging this. And it's good to come here and share some experiences with you all because you are already in a very good position. Being in Columbia University is not a normal thing. And to come here and share my experiences, I'm really very happy to do that. So, I'm a project delivery expert. I've always been doing construction management, except for the first 5 years, because I was originally an architecture student. I graduated as a bachelor's in architecture professional, and I did my first 5 years as a design architect. Then, when I moved to Dubai, somehow I became very lucky. It turned out that I got into Burj Khalifa and I couldn't believe myself. And I joined there as a coordination engineer. And I ended up doing a lot of things myself. And I realized that why not manage the area on my own? And I asked my boss, could I do this? And I was so lucky to have been considered for that role, and I ended up managing a full on area in Burj Khalifa as a project manager, which is at the top, which is where you visited, Brianna. So Burj Khalifa was very challenging because I was very young then, and big responsibility, and more so because they trusted me. I had to prove myself. Um, if About the topic as a woman in construction, yes, I did have a lot of challenges because you have to work a bit more harder to prove yourself in the beginning. But once they know what you are, your skills and your knowledge, then you get the respect. But I would definitely say I had to work a bit more harder to show that I am worth this position. Um, there are a few more things which we could talk later, but yeah, after Burj Khalifa, yes, I delivered that thankfully, and I could prove myself. Then I moved into the healthcare sector. Samsung was the main contractor on Burj Khalifa, and they offered me a role on Cleveland Clinic, and that was again another mega project. I was very lucky to get that role because I didn't have healthcare experience as such, and that's very sought after, and they don't even consider people without healthcare experience. So I got into healthcare sector. This is a 364 bed hospital designed in line with Cleveland Clinic USA, and that was very challenging for me because I moved into the contracting side. So I was in project management with in Burj Khalifa with Turner Construction, who are very big in US. Then I moved into contracting, which was a bit difficult for me because I felt that I needed to have that thick skin to, get around and perform myself as a project manager again in that. So again, I was an area project manager in that project. I was managing a building and high-end interior fit out for all of the project wherever we had high-end interior fit out. And in Middle East, you always have a royal floor where the royal presidential family members get treated. So I was in charge for that area also. That's like extremely high-end interior fit out. So I found that role very challenging in terms of dealing with the people on site, dealing with people in the meetings, because the atmosphere was very different to what I did in Burj Khalifa as a project manager with Turner, because you had more control as a project manager on the client side. But here you are on the receiving end from the client, and you have to directly manage the site guys. So that was a bit challenging, and then I realized I have to work on, not getting affected, and have to develop a thick skin attitude. And yeah, I did manage to get that through. Like I was there on that project for 3 years. After that, again, I moved into another sector. I mean, in the same sector, but a different stakeholder, which is with Stantec, as a supervision consultant and construction management professional. So that was again, till then I was as managing areas, but in SSMC, which is a Sheikh Shabbod Medical City 732 bed hospital project. So there I was in charge for the full building, for the architectural and interior fit out for the whole building, 732 bed with almost all the specialities. And healthcare sector, the projects are not normal. They are the most complicated forms of buildings. So it was a learning experience and a giving experience. It was very good, and I really enjoyed my work there on that project. And Burj Khalifa, Cleveland Clinic acted as a transition between from, like, it was more like transitioning into that hardcore construction professional, getting into that thick skin mode, not letting things affect you. So when I came into SSMC, I could see the change in myself. Uh, Things were not affecting myself. I knew how to manage and how to handle and how to go about managing this tough construction guys on site. So yeah, that's about it. And now I'm in Australia. So I'm back again. I have to prove myself as a construction professional, and to prove that I can do it, because I felt that attitude when I attended the a few interviews. No, no, the guys are not going to listen to you. Like, nobody needs to listen to anybody. We just need to work around and get things done. So I'm still in that mode here, yet too. And also in between, I started my hijab, which I was not wearing before. And I asked my friend, "What do you think?" Because she's seen me on both sides, without hijab and with her. I was like, "I feel like you look more vulnerable." I was like, "Okay." Then I have to work more now. So yes, different phrases, but I managed somehow. I didn't give up. Every time, there were many times when I felt like, just leaving things, because you're not just a construction professional. You are a mother, you are a wife, you're so many different things, right? And construction sector doesn't give you that flexibility yet. So that was very challenging for me to maintain that, managing the time with family and kids and all of that. So yes, I try to keep the topic more on women in construction. If you leave me, I just go on, so you can talk about things if you want to ask something.
Oh no, absolutely, you're doing great. I love hearing about it. I think what's interesting to me is you keep bringing up, having to prove yourself, having the tough skin. What
Yes.
are things that you did or helped you get to that point to overcome trying to prove yourself? Even though it's a constant battle, every new role and every new project you've had.
Yes. See, in Burj Khalifa, it was more of a polished sort of role. I was on the client side, but still, I had to work around a few things, like the hours when I go on site. It's full of men. Because Burj Khalifa is, it's just so tall. Once you take the left and you go up and you come down, it's already 20 minutes gone for the next turn to get into the lift. But when I was getting into the lift, it was full of these people squeezed into the lift. And I used to feel like, I don't want to get into this. I want to take the next trip. But by the time you take the next trip, you would have missed the site walk, almost half an hour of the site walk. So I somehow used to, enter in the end, just facing the door of the lift. So that part I worked around. I tried to choose the timings when I go on site, not go during the breaks, um, and things like that. And in another experience, when I was in Cleveland Clinic, uh, it was like a real contracting site construction guys. There was a meeting. I was the only woman in the room. Um, I mean, they were shouting like hell. I mean, it's like fights and all these things. And I was like, I'm not gonna shout. I'm not going to shout. That's not how I deal with people. I just listen through everything and I said, see, I can shout louder, but I'm here to talk. And if you are ready to talk, I'm going to continue and we will reach a solution or we come back when you feel normal. And I just walked out of the meeting room. So I just devised my own ways, but that meeting changed. That's the turning point where I thought, okay, I have to get into the thick skin mode. I was really affected in that meeting. I felt like I had tears in my eyes. Like, no, I'm not going to let you guys, do this. I will get into the thick skin mode. Now you can do whatever you want. I'll deliver this. So that's what I did. What did was I just did what I have to do. There are project management tools you could use to manage this kind of issues. So I just did that. I got the paperwork done. I got things approved. And once it's approved by the consultant, you got to just follow it. There's no shouting, nothing to be done. So I just found my own ways of getting things done. Um, but it all changed in when I was with Stantec. I didn't feel all this kind of resistance. I think I learned how to manage things by then, but I did have to struggle in the beginning on managing the side people. But initially you have the resistance, but when you are more into that mode of, see, I want to resolve this. Would you help me resolve this? Let's work around and do this. I'm not here to boss around. So I think when they understand that, they are more helpful and more inclined to be with you in resolving that issue. So that part I really found it very easy with Stantec on the SSMC project. So yeah, so that's how I tried to manage things. But I still struggle to manage the house and work.
Yes, yes. I feel like it's an ongoing process.
Yes,
It
yeah,
never ends, I feel, or
yeah,
it seems.
yes.
Um, if also, just quick side note, if anyone else has questions, feel free to chime on in, interrupt me.
I have one, Brianna.
Sure, go for it.
Um, Hi, thank you so much for joining us this evening.
No
Um,
worries, Ishan.
my question is, being in real estate and real estate development, you obviously have to have the foresight to see a project through over years at a time. And understanding, like, just relating back to this wonderful club, is that women are often put secondary towards, like you mentioned, the louder men in the room who try to mansplain and
Yes.
really don't appreciate other people's insights. And especially working in the Middle East, where it is almost more of a toxic climate. And how did you utilize like your patience to essentially contribute value to projects and see them through as you worked on them?
Okay, like I said, if you have your skills and the knowledge, I always believe that knowledge is power. I made sure I knew every aspect of the project and every aspect of what I was into, like what I was managing directly. So I made sure there's nobody else who knows more than me on the things that I am doing. So I used to talk to different people and understand, even to the ground level, the foremen. I used to talk to them and ask them what you're doing, why you couldn't do this yesterday. Is there a way I could help? They even used to come to my office and sit with me and discuss things. So I made sure I'm very well informed about things happening, and I made that my strong point when I deal with the other people. It's like, look, you don't know, and I know this is how it needs to be done. And when they feel that there's something that they don't know, then they soften down and like they try to like, oh, I need to find something more, and that's how I go ahead and get things done. But in mega projects, it's always results driven, it's always stressful, and we got to keep going. There's no way you can stop because it has a ripple effect. Like every small thing, if you ignore it, then it influences the other things and then it shows in the progress of the project. So, yeah, I used to always be on top of things. It's quite stressful, but that's what mega projects are all about.
Thank you.
Yeah. I hope I answered
I
your
know.
question, Nishan.
No, no, you definitely did. I appreciate it.
I have a question as well. As I guess in your project management role on these larger projects, obviously different tasks sort of get split up. How sort of did your role evolve from working on the Burj to the Cleveland Center and sort of like the tasks that you took on the Burj versus like things you took on later and now?
Yeah, in Butch, I was managing a small portion of the project, which was at the top. I did get involved in the residential apartments, but more in a coordination aspect. But as an area project manager at the top, the observatory was my prime area. And it was very interesting. And I was just getting into the mode of project management and I was all into it. Uh, I really tried to. There are many aspects in that small package. There are different stakeholders. It's a design and build and a fit out, and so that was like a big learning curve for me. At the same time, I was top of it. For somehow in the meetings, nobody used to ask me how it's progressing. Maybe they thought that I'm just doing too much of it, and they don't have to ask me about it. And I used to wonder if if my area is not important. It's like nobody asked me about it.
How did they
Then
like split it up? Did they say like you get the carpentry aspect and like you or you get the tenant fit out aspect?
yeah, so for my area, I was in charge for all aspects like fit out, even the MEP coordination. There was another aspect of music scores and AV. If you see some videos about the lifts, it's it's all LED fit out and how it all works, the music scores and the projector, the visuals. I was into all of those. I was learning and doing it at the same time. But in Cleveland Clinic, it was a different thing. Again, every project has new challenges. But with experience, you just become more confident on how to deal with the new challenges which you're getting. So Cleveland Clinic, also I was an area project manager, but for a bigger zone. So I was managing the high-end interior fit out and a acute care patient building. So that was like a bigger scope of work and I was on the contracting side, so that's even more demanding because you're dealing with the subcontractors directly. So I devised my own, the schedules and programs based on the major milestones. I would split it into what's relevant for my own area, and I used to give weekly targets to the subcontractors because when you look at the end, you feel like it's very far and you think that you have a lot of time, but then to reach there you got to achieve so many minor milestones. So that part I developed on Cleveland Clinic on how to keep the guys going and not get them into the mode that they have a lot of time. So that I learned on Cleveland Clinic. Basically, I thought on how do I get these guys keep going always. And I used to do a lot of factory visits and all these sort of things, whatever can make them, keep just to keep on the pressure on them. So these two were more like learning, and learn as much as you can, to make your position stronger and how you can manage and how to deal with people, all of that. So that I think that helped me a lot when I got into the SSMC project, which is a 732 bed hospital. Then I was into the full building. It was not just one area. And those two projects really helped me in managing this easily. I wouldn't sweat it if I don't get called to a meeting. I'm like, I have enough on my table. You can deal with it. And I'll deal with what I need to. If I was in Cleveland, I would think, oh, why was I not called for this meeting? I should have been there. But I was not like that in the other project. I was like, I have enough. You can deal with that. So that I felt it was quite easy in the SSMC project for me to manage through that other experience. Though it was huge, the responsibility was big. It was a full project, but I really liked doing it, and I was on top of it, and yeah, made things more easy for me. Yeah. Yes, Alex, did I answer your question?
Yeah, you definitely answered my question. Yeah, and I think your comments about sort of like personal relationships too, like through the process, I think is definitely a difficult thing in construction, and
Yes.
sort of like being able to mitigate that is super important.
Yeah, what I used to do was not get into that bossy mode. Always try to tell them, I'm here to work with you and resolve this. So let's do it. That was always my attitude on projects, and that really works because they know that I'm going to help them. I'm not going to say why you didn't do this, why is it this way, or things like that. So, yeah, makes our life easier.
Yeah, yeah, I've been in situations where people just blow up and then just never
Yeah,
resolve
there's a
it.
lot of resistance if you get into that bossy mode. And it's like, but sometimes you need to put your foot down and issue a letter. Then they come to your table and talk to you.
Yeah, awesome.
Also, just a little side note, for those who aren't familiar with the at the top observatory, it's
Hmm.
basically an observatory from the Burj Khalifa. I don't know if people know it from the name, but that's
Oh,
how I found out about Noor's role in the Burj Khalifa and also her other experiences, which is really interesting. Uh, just a little side note in case no one knew what the at the top was.
yeah.
But I think we have another question.
Hmm.
Yes. Hey, Noor, thank you for your
Hi.
time and thank you, Wired. My quick question, you mentioned you use some tools for project management. Can you please elaborate on what kind of tools are those softwares or because I
No.
used
Yeah.
one
Okay.
software to be honest and it wasn't like so complicated. So I would like to know more about these
No,
in
okay, I think I should have put it in a different way. It's not like software as such. Okay, fine. For example, let's take an instance where I went to the site and I told a guy on site, look, this is not right. This is not how it's supposed to be done. You got to correct this. And my inspector will come tomorrow and he's going to check this. Please get this done. And there are people who don't listen to you right away. It's like, no, no, I've always been doing this. This is how it's supposed to be. And I tell them, no, this is not complying with our design drawings, and you got to comply with this. And anyway, there's a better way to do this. Could you do this? He says no. And I don't fight with them. I just tell them, okay, my inspector will check. If you're working on that, it's fine. Otherwise, I'll have to find some other way to get things complied. So the inspector goes, checks. If it's going fine, fine, I let them go. Otherwise, I issue a non-conformance report. And I make sure that every detail is there on why it is wrong. So there is no further discussion on that. It's very clear it's wrong and you got to correct it. And those are the tools I use, like observation reports. We just do a site walk, we create an observation report, justify our comments, and we don't have to discuss further because our comments are so clear and the justification is so clear. So those are the kind of tools I was talking about.
Thank you.
Yeah.
How does that inspection work in Dubai, I guess? Because I mean, I sort of know how it works in the US. I know that like certain buildings in Dubai have had issues, especially like the hotel fire in terms
Yeah.
of like materiality, not having the correct inspection, that sort of thing. Is that run basically through your company, or is that instated by the city itself?
It's usually the inspections are done. The main responsibility is with the consultant for the inspections. But we need to make sure the compliance part is done when these inspections happen. Sometimes there is scope creep. Sometimes maybe the design drawing was missing some information or misinterpreted, and somebody somewhere missed, pointing this out. And the problem is, what I used to do was I used to get minor mock-ups done. Every small thing had a mock-up in areas which I was dealing with. Like if, like for example, the curtain wall interface you're talking about. This is if the interface is not done properly, if it's not fire rated, that's when the leak of the fire happens. So my way to deal with that was I get a mock-up done, a small portion of that, which is the most worst case scenario. I select the worst case scenario, I get it done, make sure it is right, tested, and then you repeat that all through the building. So I that way I'm ensuring the quality of that. I know that now it's done right, and I don't have to stress myself about how it's supposed to be done, and the rest is managed by the inspectors. So they have an approved mock-up which is the right one, and the inspectors make sure it's being followed all through the site, and it gets approved only if it complies with the approved mock-up. So that way we are ensuring the compliance and the quality. So whenever I start a project, this is what I do. I identify all these minor mock-ups which should be done, the main ones, and I just it's usually not in the contract, so there will be some resistance from the contractor. I'm not going to do all these mock-ups. This is the list of mock-ups. I'm going to do only this. So I do have to sit with them and tell them, see, you have to do this part, build it anyway. Let's get it right so you don't have to correct it at numerous places. Let's get it right. That's all I'm trying to do. I'm not trying to make you work more or something. I'm just trying to get it right once, and then you follow it. Then the contractor also has a confidence that it's going to get approved because they have an approved mock-up. So it's a win and win situation. So that negotiations I try to do in the beginning of the project to make my life easier and their life easier. So there would have been some mistake in that, which is why the fire went up.
That's not required by the, like, I guess, by Dubai itself and like a city agency. It's just sort of something that you guys have done internally through your company.
No, I mean, usually it's we try to, like, when I was in Stantec, I was a consultant side, right? So we definitely did all these tests and we tried to comply with everything. If there are things like that, there would have been a mistake somewhere, either in the detailed drawings or in the inspections or whatever. I mean, it's for them to, whoever had this issue, it's for them to figure out what the problem was. But the three projects I worked on definitely had all these issues addressed.
Cool, thanks.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think we have time for one last question if anyone else has anything. If not, I have a question myself for you. Kind of something that I have been trying to figure out myself. I just started a new role, and I think the biggest issue I have had, even in my first job, is trying to learn as much as I possibly can in such a short amount of time, but that's virtually impossible. How would you, or what recommendations would you give for young professionals on how to learn as much as you can, even if you may be new in your career?
You'll have to put in more time into it. I mean, productivity levels have to be pumped up. That's I used to do. I mean, even a small room, I used to do a big research on that because I need to make sure that I know everything about that room. Like, for example, MRI, I never did that in the hospital. So I went through lot of materials, lot of videos, installation videos, functionality, workflows, all of this you'll have to go through that because this happens in the initial stages. You'll have to put in more efforts than you would normally do just to make yourself, because knowledge is power at the end. The more you know about that subject, the more stronger you are in dealing with that issue. So you do have to spend some time, and it's an ongoing thing. I still keep learning. It's like I'm a lifelong student. So uh, every new project you'll have this in the beginning. It's not like once you got something and you're done with it. You change a project, change a role, you're again into new things. So
Absolutely.
yeah, the first few months for me it always went in making myself stronger and like understanding things and all of that.
Yes, I definitely feel overwhelmed at times, but it's it's a journey. It's a journey, not a race.
Yes, yes. Just try to
Again,
be
I
better than what you were before. Yesterday and today you learn something new. That's it. Don't try to stress yourself on that.
yes, Absolutely. It's hard to take it all in
Yes,
sometimes.
yeah.
We have 4 minutes left due to some time restriction that Zoom has on my account, it seems.
Hmm.
Um, but any last questions, feel free to ask anything. Again, 4 minutes left if anyone else does have anything. No, but if not, um, I really want to thank you for coming out and speaking with all of us.
No worries. Yeah.
It was great hearing from you and your experiences, especially as a woman in the industry, and the scope of projects you worked on. Again, I really appreciate it, and
Thank you, Brianna.
I'm really appreciative that it was able to work with our time zones. So it's
No, I think
cool.
it's an odd time for you guys. For me, it's fine. It's afternoon, so.
Yes.
I
Thank
actually
you
came
so
online
much.
yesterday because I didn't realize the big difference in times.
Oh yeah, I noticed that. I noticed that notification in my email. I saw that. I slept
And
like
I
half
realized,
hour
oh, I have one more day. Okay, fine.
Yes, thank you so much again. That's the luxury that we have being all virtual. We can connect with someone all the way
Yes.
from Australia, which is super cool.
Thank you for calling me, and it was good to talk to you guys and share my experiences. And I really liked coming here. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank
Okay,
you.
that was very interesting. Thanks.
I hope
Thank
I
you.
answered all your questions, and
Yes,
yeah.
it was great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Take care.
See you.